The arena fell silent as Amato, the last war dragon of the Kethran Empire, descended from the crimson sky. His scales, black as obsidian and scarred from 1,000 battles, gleamed under the twin suns. Smoke curled from his nostrils, and his eyes, ancient, golden, and filled with contempt, surveyed the gathered warriors below. For 300 cycles, the greatest fighters from across the galaxy had attempted to climb Amato's back and claim the honor of becoming his rider. Kethran champions in crimson armor, Valorian berserkers with cybernetic enhancements, and even the telepathic synth monks had tried. All had failed. Some had been thrown against the arena walls with such force that their bones shattered. Others had simply been incinerated where they stood, their ashes scattered by Amato's wing beats. The war dragon was a legend, a relic from an age when dragons and their riders had conquered star systems. But Amato had outlived his kind, and his hatred for those who would claim dominance over him had only grown with the centuries. Today, another crowd had gathered. Nobles in floating observation pods, mercenaries betting their fortunes, and news drones capturing every moment for the galactic network. They expected another spectacle of failure, another warrior's pride crushed beneath Amato's claws. What they did not expect was Hazel. She emerged from the holding area with none of the bravado typical of dragon riders. No gleaming armor, no plasma weapons, no enhancement serums coursing through her veins. She wore simple gray clothes, her brown hair tied back in a practical braid. Her hands, calloused and gentle, carried only a worn medical kit. The crowd erupted in laughter. A human? Humans were the newest species to join the Galactic Council, barely a century into space travel. They were soft, weak, with no natural weapons or armor. What madness possessed this fragile creature to stand before a war dragon? Amato's massive head swung toward Hazel, his lips curling back to reveal teeth like swords. He expected fear, defiance, or foolish courage. Instead, Hazel simply stopped at a respectful distance and looked at him. Not at his fearsome jaws or his battle-scarred armor. She looked at his wings. The left wing hung slightly lower than the right, an old injury that had never properly healed. Amato had carried that pain for decades, a constant reminder of a battle he'd rather forget. No one ever noticed it. Warriors only saw the monster they wished to conquer, but Hazel noticed. "You're hurting," she said softly, her voice barely audible above the crowd's jeers. Amato's eyes narrowed. The audacity of this creature, to speak of his pain as if she understood anything about him. He could end her with a breath. He lowered his massive head until his snout was inches from her face, heat radiating from his scales. Hazel didn't flinch. Instead, she reached into her medical kit and pulled out a diagnostic scanner. "I'm a field medic," she explained, her tone calm and matter-of-fact. "I've treated burns, fractures, nerve damage. Your wing, the joint looks inflamed. That must make flying painful." For the first time in 300 cycles, Amato hesitated. Warriors had approached him with arrogance, with weapons, with drugs meant to subdue him. But none had ever approached him with concern. None had ever acknowledged that beneath the scales and fury was a living being in pain. The dragon pulled back slightly, studying this strange human. She wasn't trying to dominate him or prove her strength. She was offering something no warrior had ever offered. Compassion. "I won't climb you," Hazel continued, setting her medical kit on the ground and sitting cross-legged in the sand. "I won't try to ride you or command you, but if you'll let me, I'd like to help with that wing." No strings attached. The arena held its breath. Nobles leaned forward in their pods. Betting markets froze. Even the news drones hovered closer, sensors locked on this unprecedented moment. Amato could have killed her. Should have killed her by all the laws of his pride and fury. But something in Hazel's eyes, a genuine kindness untainted by ambition, stirred a memory he thought long dead. He remembered his first rider centuries ago before war had hardened his heart. She too had been gentle. Slowly, with a movement that sent tremors through the arena floor, Amato lowered himself onto his belly. He extended his injured wing, exposing the inflamed joint to Hazel's examination. The crowd gasped. Betting terminals crashed as impossible odds became reality. But Hazel paid them no attention. She approached the wing with practiced care, her scanner humming as it analyzed the damage. Old scar tissue, calcification around the joint, chronic inflammation that had gone untreated for decades. "This is going to take time," she murmured, pulling tools and medications from her kit. "But I can help you heal." For hours, Hazel worked while the arena watched in stunned silence. She applied anti-inflammatory gels, used a laser scalpel to remove calcified tissue, and carefully massaged the joint to restore mobility. Amado, the terror of 1,000 battlefields, lay still as this small human tended to wounds no one else had cared about. When she finally finished, the twin suns had begun to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Hazel packed her kit and stood stretching her tired muscles. "Try moving it now," she suggested. Amado flexed his wing. For the first time in decades, the movement came without pain. He extended both wings fully, and they spread with perfect symmetry, blotting out the dying light. A sound rumbled from deep in his chest, not a growl, but something softer. Relief. Hazel smiled. "Better?" The dragon lowered his massive head until it rested on the sand beside her. Then, in a gesture that defied 3 centuries of violence and pride, he tilted his body slightly and extended his foreleg like a staircase. An invitation. Hazel's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" Amado's golden eyes held hers, and in them, she saw not submission but choice. He was not being conquered. He was choosing his rider. With trembling hands, Hazel climbed onto Amado's back, settling between the ridge of his shoulders. The scales felt warm beneath her, alive with ancient power. Amado rose to his full height, his wings spreading wide. The crowd erupted in chaos. Impossible bets paid out fortunes. News drones broadcast the moment across the galaxy. A human girl with no armor, no weapons, no enhancements, only compassion, had achieved what the greatest warriors could not. As Amado launched into the sky, Hazel held tight, feeling the wind rush past them. Below, the arena shrank to a tiny point of light. Above, the stars beckoned with infinite possibilities. "Where are we going?" Hazel called over the wind. Amado's response came not in words, but in the joyful barrel roll he executed, his healed wing moving with perfect grace. After 300 cycles of anger and isolation, the war dragon had finally found what every warrior seeks but few understand. Not someone to conquer him, but someone who saw his pain and cared enough to heal it. And in the skies above the Kethran Empire, a new legend was born, not of domination and strength, but of compassion and the quiet courage to reach for wounds instead of glory.